and gentlemen, to the She Knows Pro Football podcast. Once again, I'm Alice, aka the NFL Girl. And once again, I got my good friend Dominick here with me. Dominick, how you doing today?
Alice, I'm doing great. Had a good Easter. We have a good show, and it's an exciting week. We have the NFL draft, which for a lot of people is actually the best part of the year, and I'm one of those people.
You guys, we have been away, but we've been having fun, and the free agency was insane, and we got draft coming up this week, so we got some catching up to do, you guys. So let's get ready. First off, before we jump into our draft coverage, we definitely got to talk about some stuff that's been happening over the last couple of months in free agency. Dominick, I know you have some thoughts and feelings on how this offseason went, in particular, how free agency went down. I got to ask you, who do you think, or at least like the top three teams you thought won the offseason with free agency?
Yeah, we always talk bad about them, so we're going to have to talk good about them here. But I'm going to say that the best offseason has to go to Houston. I mean, they didn't do much. They did bring back Brandon Cooks. They lost David Johnson. You know, they haven't really done a whole lot to be excited about, but they did get rid of Deshaun Watson. And I do say get rid of. Don't want to hurt my standing with anybody, but the introductory press conference he had in Cleveland just kind of shows the type of person that he really is. So it was good to get that out of the building. They were able to get 3 first-round draft picks plus other draft picks for him. And, you know, Cleveland had to give him a $230 million fully guaranteed contract just to get him there. That's the only reason he went there. I mean, he was out before that, and then they said, we'll give you this fully guaranteed. He said, okay. I mean, I don't know. He's a fine player, but I wouldn't bring that into my locker room. And now we still have no idea what they're going to do with Baker Mayfield. They brought in Jacoby Brissett to back up Deshaun Watson, so who knows what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield. But getting what they were able to get for him after sitting him out for a year, and we all hated what they did by sitting him out and paying him his full $40 million. You know, that was stupid last year, but this year they got rid of him, so you have to give him kudos for doing that. Yeah, another one we have to talk about is Las Vegas. Yep, they brought back Derek Carr, which was actually really good, obviously. I do like Derek Carr in that system, but their big move, obviously, was they brought in Chandler Jones at edge from Arizona. He should be a sack monster there across from Max Crosby. And obviously they brought in Devontae Adams. They traded with Green Bay to get him. They gave up their first and second round draft picks, but he's best friends with Derek Carr. They're going to have a real connection there. And in that AFC West, where there's a lot of offense going on, they need to have as much offense as they can. This is going to bring them some good offense. The last one I'm going to talk about actually is your team, Denver. They brought in Russell Wilson. They gave up a lot to get him as well, but they were able to move up from having the worst quarterback in the AFC West to possibly having the third best quarterback in the AFC West. So they did move up a slot, depending on what you think of Derek Carr. And they didn't have to give up any of their wide receivers to do it, which was the best. Yes, they gave up Noah Fant, who I was a really big fan of, but he wasn't really panning out as much as people would hope. But they were able to keep Cortland Sutton. They were able to keep Jerry Jeudy there as well. And obviously they have Javonte Williams there, so I really like what they're doing on offense. So if their defense can get better, if Chubb can stay healthy finally, then I think they're going to have a really good chance to at least make the playoffs this year.
Every last one of your picks, I totally 100% agree with you on. Obviously, I'm biased towards my Broncos, and I really think that was a phenomenal move on their part because they knew that no one they had on their roster was the future for this team. As much as I love Teddy Bridgewater, he was not the future of this franchise, and neither was Drew Lock. So it was time to move on. And Russell Wilson, whether or not he lasts for another, let's say, 3-4 seasons at the most, it still gets you going in the right direction. And they can bring someone else that he can help train up to take over. But no one they had prior to that was going to be the future for that team. Saying that, we got to move on then to who you thought, Dominick, really screwed up in the offseason, who free agency moves or lack thereof really came out perplexing and absolutely is going to end potentially costing him this season.
Well, the first one I have to go to is Jacksonville. I mean, what were they doing giving Christian Kirk $20 million? That just skewed everything with all the other contracts coming up for wide receivers. That was just a crazy contract to give. But they had money to spend. They spent it on like $10 million linebackers and a $10 million bust in Evan Ingram, who couldn't do anything with the Giants. So they brought him in to see what he can do in Jacksonville. They have no idea what they were doing. It was just crazy to see a lot of the moves they had there. Another one that we need to talk about, obviously, we talked about Cleveland already. I said last year I was a big fan of Cleveland, even if you're not a fan of theirs, that you kind of like root for them I'm kind of off that bandwagon now just because of the Deshaun Watson thing. I didn't like that move at all. I don't know why they would do it. It was a stupid move. Guaranteeing him that money was even stupider, but making up that trade, in my opinion, was just an awful move for that team, which already has certain issues with culture. Now they're bringing in somebody like that who's going to have even more issues. So I don't like that move one bit for on-field or off-field for them. And then the other one you have to talk about is Atlanta. They have nobody on their team at all. They let Matt Ryan go because they tried to screw him with the Deshaun Watson deal. So they were at least nice enough to let him go. They're eating about $50 million this year in dead cap just to get rid of him, basically. And who are they going to have on offense? You know, they have Mike Davis back. They have Cordero Patterson back, who's going to be basically it for Marcus Mariota. So it's just crazy what they're going to do. They have, Olamide Zacos there. Gage is gone. Auden Tate, who's Auden Tate. He took less money to come back there because he knew he was going to have a chance to get on the field without Calvin Ridley being there. So their offense is going to be terrible. Their defense has one or two good players in Brady Jarrett and AJ Terrell. They're probably going to be the number one overall draft pick next year. And they just did that basically by trading away Matt Ryan, and obviously they couldn't expect what happened to Calvin Ridley. That was a shame, but they are tanking if anybody's tanking.
Gotta agree with you there. I'm so sorry about the Calvin Ridley situation. We had suspicions that there was more going on than his mental health. I don't know for sure that still isn't the bigger factor than the gambling issue. Regardless, this is going to be a hard season for Atlanta, and I don't know how they fully recover from it. And I don't know how they get any more wins. Cleveland, all their moves are confusing as hell to me. I'm not going to get on the whole Deshaun Watson thing because that's a whole another ball of wax for another day. And what they are or are not doing with Baker Mayfield at this point, which why are we still hanging on to him if you already know you don't want him there? I don't know if you think you're going to get some draft capital. I don't know that they aren't holding on to him in hopes that come Thursday or Friday, they get something in exchange for him. I don't know that that's going to happen at this point. It's so ridiculous. So I don't wish them well this season, sadly. And I hate to say that because I truly appreciate what that team was able to do the season before, if not last season. Well, you guys, it is time. We talked about our off-season crap. It is now time to talk about the draft. Now, we ain't got time here to go over all 32 picks in the first round. Definitely don't have time to go over all 7 rounds. So we are just going to go over the top 10 picks. And Dominick is really good at this. I trust his instincts on who he thinks is going to go where. So we're going to get started. Dominick, number 1 overall is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do you see the Jaguars picking with that number 1 overall pick?
Well, if this were my pick, I would go with Ike Ekwonu from North Carolina State. I know they have Cam Robinson there, but he's on a franchise tag. They say they're going to try and sign him to an extension. We'll see if that happens. But Ike Ekwonu can move into guard. He was actually an all-conference guard and tackle in the same year, so he can play the guard position if they need him to. They just need help in front of Trevor Lawrence to keep him upright. So if it were me, I would go with Ike Ekwonu. The feeling I'm getting is that Trent Baalke is the one making the decisions here, and he loves the height, weight, speed guy, so I do think it's probably going to be Trayvon Walker, but I think that would be a big mistake.
I have to agree with you 100% there. Moving on to the Detroit Lions. Oh, there's so much rumor and speculation on who the Lions are going to pick here at the number 2 spot. I've heard so many different names. But Dominick, at the end of the day, who do you see the Lions taking with the number 2 overall pick?
If it does work out this way, I do think it's going to be Hutchinson, Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. I know everybody's putting him there, but a lot of times it just, if everybody's putting him there, sometimes that is what happens. Occam Razor, don't go for the unusual, just, whatever it is. And I do think that they are going to want to take Aiden Hutchinson if he's there. He was a Heisman finalist last year for a reason. He was really good on that Michigan team. He loves that area, and I do think they're going to probably take him there. I don't think it's just because of Detroit, but I do think that they may feel he's the best prospect there. They don't need an offensive lineman there. They just got Penisule last year. They have a pretty solid offensive line. What they need help with is defense. They obviously need help in the secondary, but I think it's a little bit too early. As much as I love Sauce Gardner, I think it might be a little bit too early for him, especially after they just took Jeffrey Okudah a couple of years ago. They don't want to do that again, so I do think it's probably going to be Aiden Hutchinson.
So many Detroit fans will be so elated with you right now because that is the pick that so many people want them to make. And I hope he's a hometown boy, so I truly hope that works out for him there in Detroit. Moving on to the number 3 overall pick, gotta talk about these Houston Texans. Goodness gracious, this team has multiple holes in multiple places. But with the number 3 overall pick, Dominick, who do you see them taking?
They could go anywhere here. They took in Titus Young a couple years ago. He's been a bust at right tackle. They have Laramie Tunsil there. He hasn't been a bust. He's been really solid, but he counts $35 million against the salary cap next year. So if they release him, they save about $19 million, which I think they may do. So they could go with Ike Ekwonu here if he's still there. They could go Evan Neal if he's still there. They could go Evan Neal anyway because he has played right tackle for a year. He played right guard as well. He also played left tackle at Alabama. So he has the versatility to play all over. And if Walker's there, he could go if he doesn't go at number 1. So I do think it's going to be one of those two guys there. Or it could also, if they really want to make a splash, they could go Sauce Gardner because I do think he's probably the safest prospect in this draft. I do really like him out of Cincinnati. But I don't know if they're going to think the secondary is a big enough need for them. So I do think they're probably going to go on one of the offensive lines, whether that be Walker, Ike Ekwonu if he's there, like I said, or Neal. My hunch would probably be Neal or Walker.
And that would be smart for them because they damn sure need a lineman. And like you said, I don't know if they necessarily think that secondary is worth a first-round draft pick. So we'll see how that turns out. Lovey being there makes me feel like he'll go defense, but I can't speak on that for sure. At the number 4 overall pick, we got the New York Jets. This is another team. I like Robert Saleh. I think he has a vision of what he wants there. How do you see them using this number 4 overall pick? Who do you think they will pick up here?
Yeah, I've been thinking Sauce was going to go there, Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati, but I'm hearing now that they aren't going to take a secondary player at number 4 or at number 10. And if this works out the way it is here, I know they need offensive line, but they do have Mekhi Becton there. They have George Fant, who played when Mekhi Becton was hurt last year, so they're okay there. They're not great, but they're okay. So if this happened, they would run up and they would take Kayvon Thibodeau. If he's there, I know people are kind of down on him because I guess he likes his brand too much, which is kind of strange, because everybody is on TikTok and all that kind of stuff now, so everybody loves their brand. I don't know why they're making a big deal about him doing it, but even before last year, he was the number 1 overall pick. This year, before the year, he was number 1 overall pick. He got injured a little bit. He slid a little bit down to 3 or 4. Some people have him down at number 7 or 8, but I do think with what they need on defense, what they need on offense, if he's there at number 4, I think they would run up and hopefully not trip getting up there because this is the Jets, but I think they would take Kayvon Thibodeau.
I think that would an awesome pick for them, and I hope that's the route that they go there. Next up, we've got to stay in New York because, of course, both of those teams sucked last year, and we got to look at these Giants. Giants got the number 5 overall pick here. They have another one, but specifically here at the number 5 pick, who do you see the Giants taking?
They love Charles Cross from Mississippi State. He hasn't been proven as a run blocker because he is in that air raid offense, so he just has to pass block quite a bit. They don't really use the running game in the Michael Leach offense. But a lot of people think around the league that he can, in a couple of years, be the best of these offensive tackles that go. So if that's the case, I think they should do that. If not, I don't think they're going to get him at number 7 because Carolina would probably stay there at number 6 if they don't take him there, and they would probably take him at number 6. So if they don't get him at 5, they're not going to get him. If they decide not to take him, though, I think there is a chance that they take, again, we're going to go back to Sauce Gardner here because they are going to try and get rid of James Bradbury before the season. It doesn't look like he's going to be on the team this year. So if they could go Sauce Gardner here, and if that's the case, then Carolina would probably be licking their chops to take Cross at 6.
That'd be a perfect pick. Next up, we got to go to Carolina. They got so much drama going on there with David Tepper and the whole deal with what's going on with their practice facility and good Lord, who are they starting at QB? With all the drama, they got to focus on this draft on Thursday. Who do you see them picking up with the number 6 overall pick?
Well, we talked about it off there. I honestly see them picking up Andre Dillard from the Philadelphia Eagles along with the first-round draft pick and the third-round draft pick. I do think Philadelphia's going to trade up here to take Derek Stingley because I do think Sauce Gardner's going to be gone before this. But if they do stay there, especially if the Giants end up taking Sauce Gardner, I do think that Carolina will want to stay there and take the offensive lineman and Charles Cross. We do know they need one. I think the best thing for them is to trade back. They have no second-round draft pick. They have no third-round draft pick because they gave it up in trades last year for Sam Darnold and CJ Henderson to Jacksonville. So they don't have a third or second. I do think that they're going to trade this pick. And like I said, even if Cross is there, I think they'll take him. I'm going to say they'll take him. But if they do decide to trade out, which is what I think they're going to do, I think they'll trade out, get a second or third round pick or whatever, maybe get Andre Dillard if it's with the Eagles, and they'll drop down to either 15 or 18, and then they'll take a quarterback there. And that way they can sell their fans on the fact they got a left tackle in the trade and they got their quarterback later in the draft so you didn't have to worry about the hesitation of taking a quarterback that we don't really like here in the top 10 at number 6. So if they stay there, I think they're going to take Cross or whatever offensive lineman gets to him, but I do think they're going to trade out.
That might be best on their part. Sheesh. Which brings us back to the Giants' second first-round pick at the number 7 slot. Who do you see them taking at this pick?
Yeah, this one's tough because if they do take Sauce Gardner at number 5, then they're going to be left without an offensive lineman here unless Charles Cross somehow falls to them if the Eagles or the Saints or another one of these teams does trade up with Carolina, because Carolina is trying to trade back. The Giants, though, they also want to trade back. Shane's been making it clear that they do want to trade either 5 or 7, most likely 7, and gain some picks for next year. So if that's the case, that could happen. But if they do stay here and Charles Cross is there, I do think that they will take him. If not, it could be like a Jermaine Johnson. If they take Cross at number 5 or something, they could possibly take Jermaine Johnson here at number 7. Or if somehow Stingley is there because Sauce goes to number 6, then maybe they could take Stingley here as well.
That old Stingley there would be amazing. Holy hell. And then at the number 8 pick, who do we see Atlanta picking here?
They're going to take a wide receiver. We talked about it with their losses this offseason. They have nobody at the position. They have Olamide Zacos. They have Aiden Tate, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing there. They need to give Marcus Mariota something to work with. So whether they like Jameson Williams, even though he won't be back until maybe a couple weeks into the season after tearing his ACL in the national championship game, or if they like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, most likely Garrett Wilson, or maybe Drake London. But my guess would be Garrett Wilson would be the pick here. The wide receiver from Ohio State is who I would think is probably going to go here.
That'd be a good pick for them because they badly need wide receiver after everything that went down with Calvin Ridley. And at the number 9 pick, who do we see Seattle Seahawks taking here?
Pretty much anyone. They could take an offensive lineman. They could take a defensive lineman. Knowing Pete Carroll, they could take a running back. We have no clue what Seattle's going to do. They're one of these teams that takes a third-round player in the first round all the time. Brooks from Texas Tech, and like I said, Rashad Penny from San Diego State. It's just crazy what they can do. This is another one, just like Carolina. I do think they're going to trade out. I personally think this is where the Saints are going to come up to get a quarterback, and I think they're probably going to take Desmond Ridder. That's just my thought, but I have no insights on that. That's just what my gut feeling is. But if they do stay there, they have a chance to take Malik Willis here. I don't think they're going to take Kenny Pickett because I think they'll be satisfied to run with Drew Lock for a year while Malik Willis gets up to speed, and then they have their new Russell Wilson in Seattle with a possible, maybe not a better arm, but a stronger arm, about the same size, 6 foot, 215 pounds. So I do think that they really like his rushing ability and everything. So they could do that if they stay there, or they could take an offensive lineman. But if the other 3 are gone, it's kind of reaching a bit for Trevor Penning. But they could, if they do decide they still need, if they do want an offensive lineman, they could go with him, or they could go with Jermaine Johnson or Jordan Davis from Georgia, somebody like that on the defensive line.
That makes sense. And last up in our top 10 picks, we got the New York Jets again. Who do you see the Jets taking with the number 10 pick?
They need to get a wide receiver. If Drake London's there, he would be a great fit for them there to give Zach Wilson somebody downfield. He used to be a basketball player. He played basketball at USC for a couple of years. This year, he was the first year he fully concentrated on football, but he's able to go up and, because of his size at 6'5", he's able to go up and get those 50-50 balls. He's very good in contested catches, very strong down the field. He's not the fastest, but he's very good in contested catches, so I think he could be a perfect fit there for them. One thing I proposed actually in a podcast, and they actually brought it up, which would be amazing for them because they do need help in the secondary, is if at number 4 they took Sauce Gardner and then somehow Stingley fell to them at 10 and getting Sauce Gardner and Stingley at 4 and 10. If Stingley doesn't get there, though, they could also possibly, they lost Marcus May to the Saints as a safety, so they could also possibly take Kyle Hamilton here at number 10 and end up with possibly Sauce Gardner and Hamilton.
Oh, wow. Jets might be a force to reckon with, then they get all the picks you think they're going to get. Well, you guys, what can I tell you? I'm sorry we've been away so long, but we are so ready for this draft. We are so ready to see how this season turns out. We will be back very soon. I want to thank all of you guys again for listening. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at TheNFLGirl 320. Dominic, where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at EnvisionFF.
You can read more of my thoughts on SheKnowsProFootball.com. Dominic, where can they read your work?
You can read my work at TheAthletic.com, Rotorballer.com, and as of now, ThePhiladelphiaEagles.com.
That's all the time we have today. See you guys back here next time.